People think Africa is just deserts, jungles, and stories about colonization. But what if some of the oldest engineering on Earth was built there, long before Europe even knew what astronomy was? What if entire cities were erased from history because they did not fit the story people wanted to believe? And what if right now, somewhere in the mountains of Ethiopia, a single man is still guarding an object nobody on Earth is allowed to see? Tonight, we go deep into 5 places in Africa that feel less like history and more like evidence that humanity's story is missing entire chapters. And by the end of this video, one question is going to stay in your mind. Who decided these places were not important enough for the world to remember? Let's start with a place buried under the Sahara, where ancient people may have been studying the stars thousands of years before the pyramids even existed. Today, Nabta Playa looks completely dead. Nothing but endless desert, burning heat, empty silence. You would never guess this place was once full of life. But around 11,000 years ago, this part of the Sahara was not a desert at all. It was a massive wet region, filled with lakes, animals, and migrating human communities. And somehow, those people were doing something almost impossible for their time. They were tracking the sky. In the 1970s, archaeologists discovered circles of massive stones carefully arranged in the desert floor. At first, researchers thought they were random rocks. Then they realized something terrifying. The stones lined up perfectly with the summer solstice. Not roughly, not close enough, precisely. That means whoever built this place understood the movement of the sun with shocking accuracy, thousands of years before Stonehenge. And the deeper researchers dug, the stranger it got. Buried beneath the sand were giant megalithic slabs weighing several tons each. Some researchers believe the stones may have been aligned with Orion's belt, the same star pattern later connected to the pyramids of Giza. Think about that for a second. People living in what most history books would call a primitive society were potentially mapping the heavens, while most of the planet was still struggling to survive. So why does almost nobody talk about Nabta Playa? Why is this place not in every school textbook on ancient astronomy? Because if Africa was already developing advanced sky observation systems this early, then the timeline we grew up learning suddenly starts looking incomplete. And maybe that is exactly why so few people know this place exists. On the border of Senegal and Gambia sits one of the strangest archaeological sites on Earth. Almost nobody talks about it, but they should. Scattered across the landscape are more than 1,000 stone circle complexes built from nearly 30,000 carved stones. Think about that for a second. 30,000 stones, each one cut from hard laterite rock, some weighing up to 7 tons, then somehow transported for miles across rough terrain, without cranes, without trucks, without modern machinery. And this is where the mystery becomes unsettling. The circles are incredibly consistent. The spacing, the shape, the alignment. Everything feels intentional, engineered. Researchers still debate what these circles were actually built for. Burial sites, astronomical markers, religious ceremonies. Nobody knows for sure. And honestly, that may be the strangest part of all. Entire civilizations spent centuries building these monuments, generation after generation, yet their identities vanished almost completely from recorded history. Local communities say the circles were already ancient when their own ancestors arrived, meaning the original builders disappeared long before modern population settled there. No written language, no surviving records, no names, just stone, silent stone, standing beneath the African sun for thousands of years, like it is waiting for humanity to remember something. And honestly, if these circles were sitting somewhere in Europe, they would probably be one of the most famous tourist attractions on Earth. The Walls of Benin, Nigeria. The civilization erased in 3 days. Most people have heard of the Great Wall of China. Almost nobody has heard of the Walls of Benin. And honestly, that is insane. Because the defensive earthworks surrounding the ancient kingdom of Benin may have been even larger in total length. We are talking about a massive network of walls, moats, and fortified boundaries stretching for thousands of miles across the region. Some historians called it one of the greatest engineering achievements in human history. And the Kingdom of Benin was not some isolated tribal settlement either. When European travelers arrived there centuries ago, they described wide streets, organized city planning, massive royal palaces, and bronze artwork so detailed, it shocked Europe. One visitor even compared Benin City to Lisbon. But this is where the story takes a dark turn. In 1897, British forces launched what they called a punitive expedition. The city was invaded, burned, looted. Thousands of priceless bronze artifacts were taken and shipped to Europe. And much of the kingdom's infrastructure was destroyed or abandoned. Within just a few days, one of Africa's greatest civilizations was shattered. Today, many of those stolen artifacts still sit inside European museums, while the remains of Benin slowly disappear beneath vegetation and expanding cities. And maybe the strangest part of all, most people outside Africa have absolutely no idea this civilization ever existed. Not because the evidence disappeared, but because the story never became part of mainstream history in the first place. Deep in southern Africa stand the ruins of Great Zimbabwe. Massive stone walls rise straight out of the land, almost unreal, like something from a forgotten world. No mortar, no cement, no steel, just carefully stacked granite blocks, placed with precision that still surprises engineers today. Some of these walls climb over 30 feet high, forming smooth curves that have held their shape for centuries. When European explorers first arrived, they were stunned. Not because the city existed, but because they refused to believe Africans built it. Early writers tried to explain it away. Phoenicians, Arabs, even ancient biblical civilizations were suggested. Anyone except the local people. The reason wasn't evidence. It was assumption. Admitting the truth didn't fit the ideas colonial powers wanted to maintain. Later, archaeology confirmed what local history already knew. Great Zimbabwe was built by the ancestors of the Shona people, a real African civilization. Advanced architecture, complex trade, organized urban planning. But for years, that truth was buried, questioned, even suppressed. And even now, it's strangely missing from many global histories of ancient wonders. Maybe because it challenges something deeper. That advanced civilization was never limited to one part of the world. It existed wherever people built, learned, and created. 5. Lalibela, Ethiopia, the churches carved straight into the earth. Now we get to the place that honestly shouldn't exist. Lalibela, a mountain town in Ethiopia where medieval builders did something so insane modern engineers still struggle to explain it. They didn't build churches. They carved them downward into solid rock. Picture standing on top of a giant stone surface and cutting an entire cathedral directly into it from above. One mistake and the whole thing is ruined forever. No fixing it. No replacing broken sections. No second attempt. Yet somehow, 11 massive rock-hewn churches were completed with tunnels, chambers, stairways, drainage systems, and intricate interiors all connected beneath the surface. The most famous church, Bet Georgis, is carved in the shape of a giant cross descending deep into the earth. From above, it looks almost unreal. like someone digitally cut a sacred symbol into the planet itself. And here's the part nobody can fully explain. The engineering still works. After hundreds of years, the drainage systems continue moving water through the rock exactly the way they were designed to. No electricity, no modern tools, no advanced machines, just human precision at a level that feels almost impossible. Even now, Lalibela remains an active religious site where thousands of worshippers gather every year, meaning these aren't dead ruins, they're living monuments. And maybe that's what makes them so powerful, because they prove the people who built them were not primitive, not lost, not accidental. They knew exactly what they were doing. 5 places. 5 reminders that history is a lot bigger than most of us were taught. Ancient observatories buried beneath the Sahara. Megalithic circles nobody can fully explain. Massive kingdoms erased by colonial violence. Stone cities denied by racist historians. And churches carved straight into living rock. Maybe the real mystery isn't how these places were built. Maybe the real mystery is why the world spent so long pretending they didn't matter.